Hey everybody, it's your boy back. It's been a little while. And the reason for that is that I've actually been switching jobs in real life. And that got me thinking, talking about jobs, labor, occupations, and these are all different things in the context of Dwarf Fortress. That's something we haven't covered yet on Dwarf Fortress Explained Poorly. So I said, why not? Let's jump in. I'm already thinking about jobs and labor all day anyway. Let's hash it out in Dwarf Fortress. So first main category we're going to talk about is labor. Well, let's start at the beginning. So a job refers to a specific task. If I say I need a chairmaid, that's a job. Labor refers in general to all the different types of work. And, there's a specific menu for that where you assign labors. You say everyone does this, or selected do this, or no one does this. And there's a lot of different kind of little subtleties to that. So that's what we mean when we're talking about labor. And then occupation is actually a different thing that describes where you have a specific zone where specific dwarves are tasked with performing some role. So these would be examples of like a doctor or a surgeon in a hospital, or a performer or a priest inside of a temple, or a tavern keeper, or also a performer as well in a tavern, or scribes and scholars in a library. These are occupations. These are different. We're going to get into each of these, and I'm just going to ramble. I got a drink in front of me. It's evening. I am unemployed at the moment, so we're just gonna ramble, and I hope that everybody learns some stuff. I'm gonna learn some stuff. I'm here on the Dwarf Fortress wiki, and we're gonna hash this all out. So when you go into your labor menu, and that's the one that has things that you can toggle, like it has mining, it has hunting, it has wood cutting, and it has the three settings over there on the right that says everyone does this, or selected does this, or nobody does this. We're going to talk about all those different things and kind of the considerations. Much like the real world, every type of labor has its own considerations in terms of your skills, in terms of your tools, and in terms of who can do it. So mining, woodworking, and hunting are the first ones that come to mind, as you can't just tell everyone to do it. And the reason for that is that it does require a specific tool. The dwarf can either carry a pickaxe, or they can carry a pickaxe, a woodcutting axe, or they can carry a bow and arrow, or rather a crossbow in most cases. You can have a bow if you get it from elves or humans or something, but in most cases that'll be a crossbow with bolts. And the dwarf only has two hands, of course, so it has to choose one of those. And also, here's something I didn't know, but I found on the wiki. Apparently this will actually, supersede instructions for military outfits. So even if they are military and they're instructed to keep a sword on them at all times, that will be apparently, at least in most or current versions, superseded by their instruction to carry a pickaxe or a woodcutting axe or a bow and arrow. And let me just get this out of the way early. If you catch me saying anything wrong, just leave it in the comments, correct me for the benefit of everybody. Again, this is just a ramble session. I'm doing my best to be accurate based on my own memory, but we all know how that goes if you've been on this channel for any amount of time. There are also other labors that everyone can do. It's a little less specialized. You don't need a tool for it. This would be like stoneworking, fishing, plant gathering. So a little tip, something I like to do, if I need to get all my dwarfs to the surface, what I'll do is I'll select all the plants on the surface for gathering, and then I'll say, everyone does this, and then usually they'll all run up there, especially if you set the priority for it to 1, to top priority. Same thing if I need the dwarves all on one level of the fortress, I'll find some unsmooth stone and set everyone to stone smoothing, say this is a labor everyone can do, and then I'll choose a big area and tell them this all needs to be smooth, and that'll usually get all the dwarves in the fortress down to that area. So there are certain labors that you can kind of exploit to move your dwarves en masse, to a certain area. Fishing is another one. It doesn't require any tools. We've discussed this on the channel before, but how dwarves fish, they don't need fishing rod or tackle or anything. They wade into the water, and then all the accumulated food in their beard attracts fish that then get stuck in their beard, and then they just walk out of the water with the fish. That being said, of course, if there are associated skills with all of these, and so the quality and the speed with which the work is done will depend on the dwarves' specific skills. And I've got the wiki open here. I'm looking at it. I'm just going to pick out some interesting ones. Well, let's talk about the ones I just talked about. So in the case of fishing, we'll just pull that up. So in most cases, the skill level will affect just the speed like how many ticks of the game before the task is done. In a lot of relevant cases, it'll also affect stack size. So in the case of plant gathering, the skill will affect the yield, the amount of plant that is gathered, and likewise with fishing, the stack size of what is pulled up will also be increased by that skill. But so I never really pay too much attention to that. I'll just kind of assign random dwarfs to random things. And as they practice, that skill will go up the longer they do that job. But, being unskilled at the beginning doesn't really make much of a difference. The exception being for some types of, especially skilled work, like let's talk about doctoring. So, diagnosis. Your diagnosis skill, the diagnosis skill of the dwarf, affects not only the speed with which they do it, but the chance that they are actually being accurate. Likewise, surgery. If a high surgery skill will increase the speed, but it will also reduce the amount of bleeding caused and will reduce the chance of failure. So these are important things. This is where you really want to make sure that your doctors are actually skilled at the things that they're doing, as opposed to fishing or plant gathering or smoothing stone, where it's there is more forgiveness for trial and error and things like that. Interestingly, according to the wiki at least, setting bones is relatively less skilled, and it only is affected by speed. That's what the wiki says, at least. So you can let doctors just practice setting bones, and it won't increase the fatality risk. And likewise with dressing wounds, apparently. Again, I'll have this, you all know the Dwarf Fortress wiki, but I will try to have that link in the description, just in case you want to double check anything I'm saying. So here's another one where I don't really specify very much. Like, I let anyone practice, but it seems like I'm losing out on money. In gem cutting, speed is affected by the skill set, by the skill level, but also the gem's quality and the decoration quality, in the case of gem setting. So the quality will be affected if you have an unskilled dwarf. I don't really care. I tend to let them all practice, and eventually they all know a little bit about gem cutting. Let me see. Is there any other? Hunting is another one. Ambushing, trapping, animal training, where if they're not skilled, they will fail, actually. It doesn't just take longer, they will fail. Oh, I remember the funniest one. So gelding, apparently. Which, if you're not familiar, gelding is the art of removing the male reproductive organs from an animal for the purposes of, population control. We might call it's akin to spaying or neutering in the modern world. But so skill affects the likelihood of the dwarf itself being injured, which makes sense. If you do it neatly and cleanly and you know what you're doing, then the animal's probably upset, but the dwarf will not be injured. If you are mucking around and you don't know what you're doing, then the dwarf may walk away kicked in the face or badly bitten or scratched. And that tracks. And the only other one that I'm seeing on this list or that comes to mind are the skill of a cook will affect the quality of the meal. And that makes sense. We all know what it's like to muck around in the kitchen and not make something delicious because we're not very skilled. Or conversely, to make something really delicious because we know what we're doing. With that said, let's move on to occupations. Now, I have here what appears to be a comprehensive list of all occupations, what are considered occupations in Dwarf Fortress. This is doctor, diagnostician, surgeon, bone doctor, messenger, performer, scholar, scribe, and tavern keeper. Now, keep in mind, these occupations are also different from being a noble, which is also something that we'll talk about. Although I believe there may be some overlap. I believe that you do assign messengers from the noble screen. Anyway, it gets complicated. Doctors are involved with diagnosis, surgery, and setting bones. Diagnosticians specifically diagnose. Surgeons specifically do surgery. Bone doctors specifically set bones. Messengers, it says, allow you to interact with your hillocks and conquered sites, which is more of an abstract thing. They leave your map and they come back with certain things. I'm honestly not even sure how to use them to their greatest efficiency. If you know about using messengers in a meaningful way, feel free to leave that in the comment. Or if you'd like to learn more, check out the Wikia. Messenger has its own little article here. Performers dance, recite poetry, sing, or play music to entertain other dwarves. These are all skills, dancing, poetry, or if not skills, they are knowledge sets. So they're things that your dwarves can know about. So like, a dwarf can know different types of poetry, know different types of dance, know different types of music. And I guess that the only real effect there would be a very skilled musician has a better chance of playing different kinds of music, which are going to give a wider audience more happy thoughts. And likewise, if a dancer is very skilled, it's a better chance of everyone having a good time in that party and getting a happy thought and feeling better as they go away. Scholars and scribes, we've talked about in my episode about libraries. Scholars think up ideas for books and occasionally will actually write them down. And scribes actually do the grunt work of making copies of the scrolls and the quires and the books, copying basically. They're transcriptionists after the scholar has finished their manuscript on some great thought. Tavern keepers serve drinks. So this is a very interesting one. And if you when you're assigning these occupations in these zones, it will sort your dwarves, or if not sort, at least, depending on what version you're on, it will list the dwarves that have relevant skills. And so Tavern Keeper, it's actually quite interesting. It's like persuasion, intimidation, joke making, imagine like a barkeep, You have to deal with the rowdy people or the people who are being rude, and you have to make sure everyone else is having a good time, all that stuff. So with any occupation, it'll show you dwarves that have relevant skills and help you make your decision in that way. Now, this likewise is also true for nobles, and maybe that's a good segue. We'll move into nobles now. We all know about nobles. Some of them are quite useful. They're called utility nobles, or also known as administrators in some references. There's ones like your manager who will actually do incredibly useful things, and then there's other ones that are just they kind of gold brick. They sit there and they are expensive. That is at least in the latest Steam version, nobles are also kind of when you're choosing one, it'll show you what relevant skills apply and what dwarves you have to choose from. Organization, I know, and I don't have it in front of me for the wiki, but just from memory, I know organization is very important for the manager. The mayor is a social skill one. They have to be able to schmooze and to help other dwarves feel better, have good conversations with them. Same thing with diplomats, or much like the mayor. Militia captains need to have some battle tactics, leadership. I believe the ability to teach is also valuable, but I could be wrong on that one. Expedition leader is another one where organization is very important. I'm looking for ones where skills play into it. Captain of the Guard is another one where military skills are important, also leadership. Chief Medical Dwarf, of course, you want them to be a doctor, some kind of diagnostician, have some skill as a doctor. That's another one where people will get hurt if they're unskilled. Sheriff and Dungeon Master, I believe, are ones where intimidation and lying are important, or they'll help on certain roles. Oh, I forgot flattery is important for mayors and things like that. I'm not sure off the top of my head if Hammerer needs any skills besides swinging that hammer. I forget what the skill is called for interrogation. I'm trying to remember now. There's some skill that's perceiving deceit. Oh, Judge of Intent. That's what it's called. Judge of Intent is the ability to wheedle out and discern if someone is lying or not. But it'll list organization as well, is important for bookkeeping. And broker. Broker is one where, again, flattery, persuasion, Judge of Intent comes into play. All these social skills. And then you have people like the Baron or the Count or the Duke or the Monarch who really don't need any skills. Their job's to sit there and be awesome and demand things, and they really don't contribute anything beyond that, if they can be said to contribute anything at all. A few things I realized that I had forgotten. Engineering is another one where where skill matters. So the quality of the things they produce. Often, you ever notice that you build a mechanism and you pull a lever and it takes forever? It takes 45 seconds to actually close. That's because an unskilled engineer using poor quality materials often made a bad mechanism. So it's grinding, it barely works. But so engineering is one for and that involves siege engineering, siege operating, mechanics, pump operating. And the other thing I wanted to mention is appraisal is important for brokers. I forgot about appraisal, but that's the ability to determine what things are worth. So you definitely want your broker to have appraisal for sure. And I think that is most of what I'm seeing here. But so yeah, I just wanted to check in with everybody. I hadn't made a video in a while. Just wanted to let you all know I'm still playing Dwarf Fortress, and there's still plenty to talk about. If you made it this far in the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. All that stuff really helps the channel. We are increasingly close to the subscriber mark that would actually let me get paid from the ads that run on these videos, which would be incredible. I would love for a little extra pocket change, especially since I need a job. I'm out of a job myself. But, so I love y'all, and thanks for watching, and I will catch everybody in the next one. I will try. It sounds like adventure mode is right on the horizon. In April is what the dev team is saying. And it looks like, just like with the Steam version, it looks like they're doing incredibly good work, and I expect to be kind of blown away. It sounds like they've added useful, interesting things, and it should look pretty and run pretty. And so I will definitely be in touch with... I heard a rumor that it is even going to have backwards compatibility with earlier versions, so I wonder if I even saved and backed up my Grackle Man. I could even keep playing him, potentially. We'll see. I don't want to promise that. because I might have lost the saves, and the backwards compatibility thing might have been a rumor. But, yeah, I will catch everybody soon. As always, yours truly.